Hello, Afrolit fam. Welcome back to another episode of Afrolit. This is exciting because we're opening up December in a really spectacular way. You know, this is like my own version of the Rockettes. A holiday special. I'm so excited because I am joined with a guest that I have been wanting to have for quite some time. She's been in New York just thriving, living her best life, doing amazing things for Africans as well as us beauty gurus in this thriving city. So without further ado, I want to welcome Diarrha to Afrolit.
Hello, yes, drum roll,
right?
please.
I'm going to get all of this. I'm going to get all 2020.
Yes.
I'm going to be with the sound effects. Welcome.
I love it. Thank you so much. I'm so honored to be here.
Yes.
Especially talking to our folks.
Listen,
we have so much to talk about
we
today.
have so much to discuss. I just want to give a big shout out to Canal Street Radio and Listening Party for just being my wonderful guests or sponsors for that matter. Space sponsors.
So
and
beautiful.
Yeah, you know, whenever I welcome my guests here, they're always so excited because A, they can get some coffee and enjoy. Shout out to the vendors. Mm-hmm. But also they can see a mini oasis within New York City. Like, who would have thought?
Never
in the middle of, I'm not going to give you my location, but but in the middle of the city, you would find a special location like this. But yes, so I always started off with asking, where are you local to? Where up your set? What are your area codes?
Wow.
Give them to me.
Okay, my area code, wait for it, 212. I was born and raised in New York. I was born and raised in Harlem. I make the joke that it's called the Petit Senegal because 116th Street between Lenox and 7th Avenue is still thriving with all my Senegalese, Guinean, you know, family members.
Francophone Africa.
Francophone. You have your Dibi down there. You have your Bissap. You have your Bui. So yeah, I was basically Chebujin, the original Jollof, but we're not gonna get there. We're not gonna go there. We're not gonna go there. Yeah, so that's my set. But I am from Senegal. You know, originally from Senegal. My parents are both, you know, they don't live in Dakar. They live here, obviously. But when I go back to Dakar, Dakar is home for me.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that's my heart home.
Yeah. How often did you travel back? Did you, like, when you were a kid, was it like mini Dakar at home and then outside was like, you know, that's when you were Harlem and like, you know, able to dab up your friends and homies?
Such a dichotomy. So basically, at home, my parents just did not speak English to me, especially my mom. My mom was like, if I spoke to her in English, she responded back in Wolof. So it was very much like once I closed the door, I was in Senegal. You know what I mean? Like, you know, Youssou N'Dour was playing, or Baba Mal, or like, you know, and then also on top of that, like my mom has a braiding shop on 125th Street.
Yeah, and we're going to get into that.
We will. And then when you get there, it's like all your aunties, no one's speaking English except for the clients, you know. If anything, I was the translator at a ripe old age of 6. Like, she said that she want box braids like Moesha. So, but then when I was growing up, whenever my parents went back home, which honestly, when I was growing up, was not as often. You know, the first time I went to Senegal, I was 6 years old, maybe 5 years old. And the next time I went, I had to have maybe like 12, 11. So I skipped a long time not going home, trying to figure out what that means for me and so many other questions that I had about identity.
I can imagine.
And it wasn't until I actually went to college, and I'm like, I am going back home. Like, something.
So where did you go to school?
Yeah, so I went to school at Syracuse University.
Woo, shout out.
You know, upstate.
Right, upstate.
In the cold. Freezing.
Yes.
So I went upstate, and then I think it was the mix of, you know, I guess, quote unquote, Africa kind of being acceptable now, me having questions about my identity, like, why am I the way I am? And then also going to college and seeing so many different groups come together, the Ghanaians, the Nigerians, the African student unions, all these things, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm going back to Senegal. And then I went and I fell in love. I was like, oh my God, like everything makes sense.
Yeah.
You know, like
how long did you go for in that space? Like, was it like for a month or was it? Yeah.
So I went for like a month, 45 days. You know, every time that I went, it was a good healthy chunk.
Right.
To go back, and then every time I went back, I just felt more and more aware of myself.
Yeah.
I'm aware of where I come from. Again, like my patterns, things that I didn't even realize were seeping through my veins came through. I'm like, oh, this makes sense. This is me.
Beautiful.
This is me. Yeah. So I'm actually going next week.
I know, right? That's why I was like, we're doing this today.
I know. She's like, we're doing this right
right.
now.
We're doing this right now. And so when did you kind of learn that? So, of course, the beautiful thing about your story is that I feel like beauty and like how you bring yourself forward and how you present yourself to the world has kind of been with you since birth, because your mom owns a hair salon.
I know.
You know? So like talk to me more just about that experience of just like, you know, because I feel like when we're teenagers, we always kind of have that rebellious phase where we don't want what our parents want for us, you know, even if it's like the right thing. It's like, no, we want to wear all black and we just want to enjoy it, right? And so how did you navigate that, being that, you know, your mom works in the world of aesthetics and like, you know, she's your mom, so she would know what's best for you and what might look nice for you, the style that she wants to braid your hair in versus the style that you want to have, you know what I mean?
God. I just got styles that I wanted to have maybe like 2 years ago. I would still sit down. She would still put whatever in my braid, like, you get this for free, so you get whatever you get.
And so sometimes it's like, even till today, like I have friends who pay for Brock's braids who are like, you know, I wanted her to do them smaller, but you know, I just saw her kind of going, so I was like, let's just go with it.
Oh, God.
You know,
luckily so my mom's clients are not shy. They're like, nope, take it out. I didn't ask for this.
Oh, that's good. That's good. But there's other, you know how it is. Like sometimes it's just like, you know, just go with the flow. Go with the flow.
Telling you.
Don't disrespect auntie.
Exactly.
You know. So how do you navigate that?
That's a great question. So, I think for me growing up, number one, Harlem at the time, I think my dad came in I call them classes. There were classes of uncles that came here. Like my dad came in the class of 85. So I would say that he, in my opinion, especially in the Senegalese world, he was one of the first, you know, to come here for a while. Like the 80s wave of immigrants coming here. Yes. He was kind of the first. So growing up, I didn't really have a lot of Senegalese friends per se that went to school with me and so forth. So even then, I say this to say that I didn't really understand my identity, like why I was so dark compared to my classmates, why no one else smelled like Jebujin at school or incense, why did, you know what I mean, why my mom chose to do my hair this way versus this way, you know what I mean, like when people were getting their, you know, box braids and stuff, I'm getting like, you know, threaded hair. Exactly. And I'm having to go to school like this. So for a very long time, my identity was exactly how my mom saw me and how she thought that I should fit in this world. Or again, her everyday things like, listen, you are not American. You are African. You are from Senegal. You are not the same as these people. So these, quote unquote, these people, for a very long time, I was just so confused. So aesthetic and beauty didn't really mean anything to me. It came out later on when I tried to, again, self-identify, self-discover, to figure out what that meant for me. But growing up, it was just whatever my mom, like, you know, again, being respectful. Whatever my mom put me in is what I have. I have some crazy outfits, honey. Like, when I look back at my pictures, I'm like, Mom, why did you hate me? Why did she, like, it was cold that day?
No, it's like you need 3 scarves.
The way she was the queen of layering, did not give a damn about, like, you know, things looking color matching. Right? Oh, no. I will never forget one day, it was like, I was maybe 6. It was like first day of school. My mom sent me to school in long johns because she thought it was an outfit. She didn't know any better. And I'm there. Everyone's laughing at me. Even the teacher's like, "Honey, where's your clothes?" I'm like, "These are not clothes." No, it was September. This is my outfit. Like it was crazy. It had like little flowers on it. I would never forget that day. It's imprinted.
Oh no, the trauma.
But then when I went to like middle school, I'm like, no, this is me. This is my quote unquote rebellious phase. But my rebellious was like fashion, like
that's cool.
Bonnie Hills, Dad. I want this, and like my dad was down with it too.
Oh really?
My dad got me like these expensive little cowboy boots. He's like, you go ahead and live your American dream, girl. I appreciate him that. And then
live your American dream.
I promise you.
I feel like our parents do vicariously live through us in a way because they understand that there's a layer that they will, you know, just through their culture, through what their, you know, their first languages are, that they'll never be able to kind of penetrate. Where it's like for us on the phone, we sound American. You know, we can put on, you know, we can code switch crazy.
It's crazy, and it's a different code switch. It's the opposite way.
It is the opposite way, and so it's also just like learning what that means for yourself is so important. Like you can't unfortunately depend on our parents to kind of give us that new experience, you know?
Oh my God, yeah.
And I think that's like the mentality that probably comes from just us learning for ourselves and what we want to do and how we want to represent ourselves.
Yeah.
But how did you know, because it's beautiful because like I think in a way you pay homage to your parents through like the work that you've chosen to do, you know? So like how did they feel about you like stepping out into this space, and when you were in college and telling them, hey, like I want to go into beauty? Did you even study beauty in college? No? So tell me about that. Like when did it become like a form, like, oh, I can actually get paid to do this, you know?
Okay, so I went to school and I basically studied English. I was in English. Like I was just really, I always loved storytelling, just like the art of storytelling.
Same.
Growing up again with your parents, like you can't go read your books. You know what I mean? There was no like TV in my room, so I always loved
iPhones yet.
No iPhones. I didn't get a phone until like 10th, 11th grade.
Me too.
Girl. So for a long time, I just had a fascination with English, and I went to school. Really, I told my dad I'm gonna be a pediatrician. All these things. They were so happy.
So they're like,
just that smile alone makes life worth it. Like look at this smile. I'm gonna go to school and do all this. But I got there. I'm like, I am not. Girl, sit down. First of all, I'm like not emotional, but emotional. Like if I see a kid that's sick, I'm gonna be like, I'm gonna pass out.
I know. Right now, you're seeing blood on top of that. It's like, oh, you gotta operate. Oh no,
not for me. So I call myself a late bloomer in that I, declared my major pretty late, like the end of sophomore year, and then. That was kind of when like MTV was buzzing. I'm from New York, and like fashion is everywhere, and I loved fashion always. I loved beauty always. It's just always something that I was fascinated with. Not to go all over the place, but like even a part of our culture, fashion is huge. Like the grand boubou.
Right.
We love colors. We love, accessories. We love gold.
Yes.
So it's always been a part of me. I never knew how to tap into it. I'm like, okay, here I am. I graduated. I had this English major. Every summer I had been traveling to go to Senegal, and I never really interned. What should I do? And then I think one thing I'm very grateful for, and my parents are like, you know what, you have to have a good work ethic. No matter what you do, you will be successful in what you do. You just have to be really good at it. It can't be anything like crazy, quote unquote haram. But if you do what you put your mind to, it can you will thrive. Just really be serious about your job, respect your employees, etc., etc. So my parents both had that idea. My mom is more traditional in a sense, like go work corporate, be safe. My dad was more open to me being more entrepreneurial spirit because he is entrepreneur by definition.
Yes.
Serial entrepreneur. So when I graduated, I'm like, I want to try fashion, and they were not mad about it. They were really happy that I found, a place to work.
Exactly.
So I was working at Teen Vogue. I was working at Rebecca Minkoff and CC Fine, all these other great places to start, and just grinding. And they really respected that. So they didn't really say, don't work in fashion. It was just like, you can't go and like become a stripper. You know what I mean? Like, you can't do whatever you want.
We don't want to see you just now twerking in these music videos.
My mom is still upset that I have an Instagram. I'm like, I'm not even like vulgar on Instagram. My mom is so traditional. So all that to say, they've been I've been blessed that they've been supportive in that way, which is not everyone's reality. So I understand that privilege, and I'm able to talk to them about that. Again, my mom has had her own business. My dad has his own business, so it wasn't that bad. It wasn't that bad.
That's I
don't know if I answered your question.
No, you did. Okay. You did. You really did, because I think it's nuanced, and that's what even your life story brings. Like I love that you have the tag. That you're the neo-Senegalese, woman, because you're living in New York. You're doing these awesome things, working for amazing companies and brands at such a young age, and now you're stepping out on your own,
in the ocean.
Being in the corporate grind, I can imagine, like, you've probably seen, I don't know if you've dealt firsthand, right? Dealt with firsthand just I wouldn't necessarily say discrimination, but just the plain and just simple just disregard of maybe viewing your ideas as valuable.
Yeah.
And so I want to actually talk about two scenarios. Like, tell me about a time when, you know, you were working in the corporate grind and you just felt like you weren't being seen at all. And then tell me about a time where, you know, they valued you because of what you could bring to the table and how you really put your stake in the grind, in the ground, because I feel like, you know, and a lot of the Afrolit fam, like, I think we're in this in-between phase where it's like, you know, we don't really want to quit our jobs just yet, but we know that we have, like, gifts within us that we want to bring to the forefront. And sometimes it's not necessarily about, like, quitting to, like, make the gift become the reality because then, like, you know, you lose passion for the gift, you know, you can burn out so easily, especially when it's not turning the way that you need it to.
It never does.
Right? Or like happening as fast as you want it to. And also dealing with how maybe you could bring that gift into your workplace and like have it navigate you. And I feel like you've done that so effortlessly.
Oh, thank you so much.
So
I never
just
really
tell
even thought
me,
about it that way. Thank you.
No,
okay.
You do. You really do. And maybe this
you.
is what we see on the outside and we're going to learn something new today, right?
No, I like to think that it's true. I actually do like to think that it's true because... Again, like I chose to go, like for instance, I really, in the beginning, I was like, no, fashion.
Yes.
And I just never saw myself there. And then, so just to clarify, I've only had one corporate job, which was L'Oreal.
Okay.
And then everything else was pretty startup space in different phases of startup. So Rebecca Minkoff was still a woman who had her company.
Oh, that's so interesting.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So everyone was pretty hands-on. Temp 2, people were very small, mom and pop. And then Glossier is now becoming a corporate, quote-unquote, growing up into a teenager company, but they're still a startup.
I know.
So,
and we think of these companies, and sorry to cut you off, but just like when we look at them on social media and how they shift so quickly, or like how we kind of are in this generation of things happening at like lightning speed, we assume that they've been in the industry like they are.
Two people posting these things constantly and who has a drive and passion is why I love. Then this is probably why also that kind of, you know, just helps me with my work ethic now. You have to be hands-on and you have to be passionate about it. And like, even when you want to walk away, you're like, oh my God, that one product though. You know what I mean? Like we're having that passion. But I only bring that up because in the fashion world, when I knew that I was not being seen, it's obviously plain to see that my body type was not represented, my skin tone was not represented, and like my story period wasn't represented. And then there was one particular instance where, again, I started in PR, working in social now, and I was like manning the blog, right? So at the time, there was this woman who came to like revamp and revive the voice and everything, and this is crazy, but like this guy who happened to be my boss at the time, he's like, you know, you go ahead and, you know, share your personality. Like, it's amazing. You're from New York, and like this brand is about New York. Like, share your story. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm feeling seen, and like this is so exciting. And this lady came, and she's like, we can't have you on the website because you don't represent the brand. And she wasn't even apologetic about it. She was like, straight up, you can't be on the website. And at the time, our intern was Who, What, Where. Danielle, something like that. Or Who, What, Who, What, Where. And she's huge now, right?
Yeah.
She was our intern at the time. And she was like, no, she can be the style blogger. You just edit the content and blah, blah, blah. Like, because we were doing like franchises. Like every Monday it was like, what's in my bag? Or like me styling things. And she was like, you don't fit the type. She fits the type. So you support the intern in creating content, even though she's supposed to be working for me. So so this happened, and it's so funny because she just one day just didn't show up. She's like, I'm doing my own thing. I'm like, good for you. And now she become this huge blogger. And that was the tone. Every time I came in, it was always something like that. There was one instance where like my sister came to visit me. She just came to pick me up from work or whatever. We were like going shopping or something like that. You think it's normal. She opened the door because you walk in and there's like the showroom on one side and the office on the other side. She walks in and like people on like the sales team like, oh, are you here to clean?
Whoo, see, you're calm. See, I'm the New Yorker that
I'm so used to it, unfortunately. Like, but back then, imagine, like, here you are, eager to be in this space. You
have to just take the bullets.
You worked your ass off to be in this space, and, like, it just transformed into tears. It transformed into anxiety. It transformed into, like, what is going on? Like, how come, again, I grew up in this beautiful shop, seeing all these women come in and transform and, like, leave feeling beautiful, but I do not feel that outside of 116th Street. I don't feel that outside of Harlem. But when I come downtown, when I come to work, I don't see this even visualized. Right. But if someone needed help with a turban, or if someone needed help with understanding, like, Muslim holidays, or someone needed help understanding, like, oh, Jada, is this photo ashy? I was suddenly...
we need to find her. Where is she?
You know?
Right.
So it was very nuanced, and, like, that was an example of not being seen.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm blessed in the sense where I know when to walk away. It's not always like I just feel like, oh, blah, blah, blah. Something always happens where guys, like, either they let me go, or I walk away, whereas, like, this is supposed to end here. Right. I always tell, my dad is, said it so beautifully, like, whenever things like that happen, that's God telling you, like, you have tapped out. Right. And your journey here has ended.
It's done.
Any more or less would have been bad for you. So that's when I stepped away from that, and then I went more a beauty route, which is a bit more inclusive, an idea. Beauty, you literally are talking about skin, the makeup of skin. Everyone has skin. You know what I mean? Not everyone's a size 2, but everyone has skin.
Right.
And then, of course, there's nuances there. But it was a bit more, it was just different from, working in fashion. And then in beauty, I just, I am a beauty junkie. Yes. So I always felt seen, and my voice was valuable in the sense because I know what I was talking about.
Right.
So I
use these
things. This has been about a part of my life forever, and, like, this is my truth. Like, you can't take it away from me.
Right.
So that is some places where I actually have been seen and celebrated in a way that I appreciate. Yes. And not feeling tokenized, not feeling, we need a black girl on the team. You know what I mean? Right. So it's been a journey, and I mean, I've been working now for 10 years, and I'm 30.
That's amazing. I may cut that out because we don't need to know all that information.
You're right. Cut that out. You're right.
No, and so, that's the beauty. Like, black really don't crack. Yeah. And I think I just want to go back to, like, the examples that you use are so powerful, and, like, I think your lived experience is really gonna help, like, unlock the door for others who don't need to kind of go through that, because sometimes I feel like and it's unfortunate because sometimes we are our own biggest critic, and, like, even we as black people, as Africans, sometimes we don't necessarily, we kind of get that crabs in a barrel mentality, and it's so, like, even in terms of our aesthetics and, like, the way that we appear, I feel like within our world there is still that level of colorism, and so when you were saying that she didn't even want to have your picture on the website, but now when we think about Alec Weck and Awang and all these beautiful models, all of a sudden, because they're models and they fit that one specific build of skin tone, of size, of whatever, they are now deemed beautiful in this really white gaze world. But it's like, outside of that, sometimes even within our own, we don't see the beauty. We don't see, it's like, oh, why isn't her hair slicked back, or why isn't she doing this? Or if you tend to be on the a little bit thicker side, it's like, oh, she's a video vixen, you know what I mean? Like, can she twerk for me? It's so hyper sexualized.
It's so crazy, huh?
And it's like, why can't we just be, just be?
Why can't we literally just be?
We cannot just be. And so I just want to know how you, stepping into this world where, like, your aesthetics come first, how you've been able to navigate just, like, the nuances of even within ourselves not seeing that beauty.
Wow. Whoa.
Coming through with a question.
Wow.
And I mean, the reason why I ask is because I think that because we have social media, and it's so funny, your mom thinks it's haram, but at the same time, as much as it may be, we still need it because we need those examples of just breathing and living and being a hot mess and, like, just enjoying and being extraordinary and having all of that coexist, because it is a coexistence.
It's life.
Making up a new word. It's life.
I stand.
Right.
Okay, so wow, what a great freaking question. You know what? I would say, honestly, and I've never thought about this. I think my dad has a lot to do with that.
Yeah.
My dad is very dark. He's like straight up Sunny. You know, Sunny Lee's men are very dark. Like, my dad is very dark, and like, I kid you not, like, I remember vividly being in middle school and just being teased to the point where I'm like such a Sagittarius. I'm like, well, I guess I am ugly. This is what I'm ugly, but I'm sassy.
Right.
You know,
I still got it.
Right.
I still got my attitude.
I went home one day and I said something like that, like, something to the extent, is because I know I'm ugly, but, and my dad's like, what are you talking about? He's like, no, this girl told me, blah, blah, blah. Because, you know, when I was growing up, it was like all about the Puerto Rican girls in Harlem.
No.
So,
I mean, and still,
Right.
anyway.
That's a whole other podcast. So I think whenever he could, or whenever I felt vulnerable enough to say, I feel less than, I feel ugly, he's like, do you know who you are? And more importantly, do you know what we had to do to get here? Forget about you. I loved you before you even knew who you were. You know what I mean? I loved you in concept and theory, and then you get here and you are a product of literally going from Senegal, from Dakar to Sandaga, to Paris, to Miami, coming to New York, figuring something out, reaping some seeds here, and then here you are, and now you're telling me that you're ugly. Like, don't disrespect me. And I'm like, oh, God,
this is
damn.
deeper.
So that always resonated with me.
Yeah.
And I never even said this before, but I'm realizing that that sense of security really did come from my dad and him really reassuring me. So every time I felt less than, there was always these whispers of my dad just like killing it, making it, you know, by no means necessary. And like, your point of view of society or what you deem as classy or classic is not everyone's classic. You know what I mean? Our classic is sitting down and eating from one bowl. Classic in Europe is having a fork and knife and eating with your left hand versus your right. In our culture, that's not what we do. So it's really about context and really understanding how you have to, everything's going to be messy, everything's going to be noisy, but you have to be still at the core of it. So I'm blessed in the sense that I've been able to find serenity in being just myself. Like, even when I interview now, before I used to like put on and code switch, now I don't. I'm like, listen, here are my braids, and I am also brilliant, and I'm also able to share XYZ. No, I can't change my hair for the interview. All these other things, but it took some time.
It does.
It took some time, and it took some time also understanding and rejiggering my thought of beauty as well, even the images that I surround myself. So when you go to my Instagram, it's all these beautiful black women that I never saw growing up.
Yes.
So I put it out there because it was a void in my life, to say, no, you are literally beautiful as you are, and trying to figure out what that means for generations to come.
That is a word. A word. I feel, woo! And I think it's so important, you touch on so many wonderful things, which is representation really matters.
So key.
It's so key, especially for us, you know, brown skin girls. Your skin just like pearls.
Sing it.
Best thing in the world. Hey. You know what I mean? So we need more representation. You know, and it has to start from within us. And I mean, like you said, it did start at home with your father, and you know, and I think because of just society, and sometimes, especially in America, Black America, like, you know, the family home has been really disconnected, you know? So, like, fathers are either away or work, prison, you know, like, there's so many different things. And like you said, like, context has to remain at the forefront. We can't just assume that there's one standard classic. And I think that's one truth. And I think that's what, like, the world, you know, for so many centuries has been portraying. There's only one standard classic. Either it's this or it's not.
European.
Like, right? European. It does, or it doesn't exist. But like, look at what is happening with Europe right now. You know, like,
look at that.
It's it's to their own demise. You know what I mean? And it's like, you know, the centuries of what they've done is now coming back. It's so funny. Like, in the house,
my sisters, like, they don't like each other.
They don't. They really don't.
Y'all don't like each other, y'all? No, I'm not erect.
Right?
I rebuke it.
I rebuke it because it is so important to remember that we deserve to be, as much as we deserve to be at the table, we don't have to regard the table on a pedestal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like we place tiers, and even within our own society at times, we aspire to be westernized when that is really not the future.
I know.
You know?
That's why I'm so grateful in the time that we are now with things like Afrochella and people going back home
and
realizing the year of return and like realizing like number one, there's potential, but then there's also freedom in going into a space where you don't feel black first.
Right.
You get what I'm saying? So
Yes.
like in New York, in America in general, especially depending on what city, New York is a bit more lenient.
Yeah, we are.
But like sometimes you open it's as small as opening a coffee shop. You're like, okay, I'm black. How do I navigate this space? And it's literally so silent in this voice, but it comes through. When I'm home in Senegal, everybody's black.
So now it's like, are you rich?
There we go.
Know,
of course, it's always something because humans are just complicated. But
I know.
There's that layer peeled off because even here is like, okay, you're black, but are you rich? Are you from this class? What school did you go to? Where did you go to school?
But it's like you're still black. Even when you check all the tiers,
you're still going to be a black person.
Right.
And that history is completely different from like, Senegal.
In Senegal,
or
yeah.
I can only use Senegal because I've only like been there.
Of course, yeah.
I've been to Ghana too.
But
you know
yes, you can speak to Senegal.
Yes, yes. So going back to your point about broken families and people having different family units, I think that's so important because I have friends who don't have the privilege of calling dad and dad having, number one, calling dad,
right.
period. Two, dad having the language to be able to empower you because some African dads are like, girl, go to your room and close the door. I'm sick of yours, Right. Girl. So I think in that, and I've done this in other ways as well, is finding, it's all about family unit, right? Sometimes it's not even biological family unit. It's finding your pocket and finding the group of women who feel the same way that you feel, group of men that feel the same way you feel, and you are able to kind of serve as that mirror, that best friend or reassurance that you need.
Right.
I'm so blessed that I have like 4 amazing best friends from college, and like we are that mirror with our different cultural nuances. One girl's from Jamaica, and one girl's from, Philly, and other girl's from Ghana, I'm from Senegal.
Yes.
Just showing each other like, here is where you're being too hard on yourself. Here's where you're not seeing your true beauty, because we can't look out. I'm saying that because we can't look out. We have to look within. And if it's not in your family unit, you have to create it. And it's very difficult I feel like, for African people to do that sometimes. Even if you're from Ghana and I'm from Senegal, there's something that we have very similar. Even if you're from Senegal, you're lighter skin, I'm darker skin, there's something that we have that are similar that we need to reassure that we're still beautiful. And then that brings me back to like, sorry to go all over the place, but like even when I like stop relaxing my hair, which has been 2-year journey. Ooh. It literally took my niece, who's 3 years old. She has very coarse, 4C hair.
Yeah.
And I like just silk pressed my hair, came from the beauty salon, blah, blah, blah. She's looking at me like, why isn't my hair like that? And it broke my heart. And I'm like literally stuttering over my words. I'm like, no, you're beautiful. No, my God, no. Oh my God, what's going on? Oh my God, she's looking at me and thinking this is beautiful. And then like I'm someone she like look up to, and then like we're like close friends. I never want her to feel that way. I stopped perming my hair after that day.
Whoa.
I swear to God, I didn't even chop off my hair. I just like literally, I'm like, I'm done.
It's
I'm done.
over.
I'm not gonna wake up and have her feel like she is not beautiful. In this family unit, in this little circle,
right.
You're gonna feel beautiful in everything that you have.
Everything.
And like that trickles down to everything that I do. Like even my makeup, I mean, I'm happy to zhuzh it up and be extra.
Yes.
But most of my look is just like, this is me.
Yeah.
This is my skin, and I'm, able to kind of like nuance it whenever I can. But my whole thing is enhancing my beauty, but I never want to transform for anyone's perception of me. That's your business. That is your business.
Right. And I think that it speaks to so many levels of like what really beauty and all of these things are at its core. It's just about truly loving yourself and knowing your worth and amplifying that. Like to be extra means like you want to put on that extraness that just helps emphasize who you already are. You know, it's not to take away or transform. But and on the flip side of that, though, there are there's the rise in the skin bronzing and like how people are putting on like I don't even know what it's really being called, but it's literally black. Yeah, it's like black. Yeah, blackfishing. You know, on Instagram and how it's become such a huge thing in Europe, which is hilarious. But like, you know, like how women literally are so pale, but like want to look like more
darker,
on the
exotic look.
Right. And so it's like
Europe is tricky.
Europe is tricky.
Because, girl, I was dating like this guy who was born and raised in Paris.
Let's talk about it.
Okay. And like his friends were not pro-black. All of their girlfriends were white, Arabic, or Moroccan, North African, but like they would not date their sisters, like not sisters technically,
right.
I'm like, what's going on? No, they're not classy. They just I'm
it's
like,
too much.
It's too much, and her hair, the cheveux. I'm like, no. This is called self-hate at its core.
When I visited Paris,
talk about it.
I knew that there was like I was gonna have a hard time even just like fitting in like because I still want to be fluent in French. That's like the goal of life, right? I'll get there. I will get there, right? I will get there. But like already knowing that it was and because I call us third culture kids, where it's like we were born in one place, we grew up maybe in another place. So like, you know, for us, I consider it like the home was like Kenya, right? But culturally, our aesthetic, we look like another. You know, we're black women,
right?
So it's like we carry such a huge like nuance within that because in our mentality and the way we portray ourselves, like and the way that we can like contextualize things is so vast. You know, we can understand what the mamas and the like that is a skill and that is a gift. It's a privilege, right? And so like in Europe, I feel like a lot of people don't have that experience. Like even though they are in a metropolitan city like Paris, it's still very segregated, you know, and the quartiers and like all of that different stuff. Like you really rarely, like I honestly really connected and resonated with like a lot of the Haitian community in Paris and like obviously the Senegalese because again just being African, but like people from, you know, Marseille or
the outskirts. The further out you are, the blacker it is, and like the closer you are to Arrondissement 1, you needed to be French.
Maybe you needed
and if
to be
you
French.
were going to be a black French girl, quote unquote, you had to be very classy. You had to wear the rouge à lèvres, you know what I mean? Or like your hair had to be pulled back, and you had to show that you are willing to assimilate to be the French Parisian beauty. You know what I mean? Or all the influencers that were coming from Paris that happen to be black are very like Parisian chic, laissez-faire, like this, you know, all these things that are not us. So I think Paris in itself and France in general is just like you have to assimilate to the culture or you are literally in the outskirts. They throw you out in the outskirts.
They do.
And I felt that. I was like, we don't do this in America. What? We are dope. Don't even try it. I played all his friends. He was probably always embarrassed.
Right? Like,
I was like,
because
no.
it's always starts, and I really hate that. And that's, again, it goes back to representation because what they see on TV is not...
shaking our booties.
You know what I mean? So it's like and either like you're outspoken, that or you're not, or you know?
Literally trash.
Like, you're just not... You have to fit that one stereotype. And that's what bothers me so much because, like, again, like, you know, we have now people like Issa Rae who are just making and paving so much for just being and living and
Issa's like I'm just here
and I'm gonna be talented, awkward and just doing
and I
whatever.
deserve this award, okay?
Right? You know,
it's time. It's a beautiful time.
Oh my gosh,
there's a lot of work that needs to be done overseas.
Yes.
And overseas, including Africa and Senegal, colorism is still big,
huge.
Skin bleaching is still big.
Ooh,
I personally, it's like one of my goals to like literally make it illegal.
Yeah, we were talking about that.
If it was my dream,
it's gonna happen.
Is to make it. I forget which country.
I think it might be Ghana.
Was it Ghana? Is it Ghana
to, like,
or to ban it?
Yeah,
or Rwanda?
It might be Rwanda. Yeah,
I think it might be. Yeah, because I'm like, they're still breathing in Ghana. Maybe I don't remember what it was, but that made my heart sing because there's so many different. Like, what are you saying when you buy that, or what are you saying when you gift that to someone?
Right.
When you say, "Here, Here's your future.
Right.
Change who you are. Like, not literally, but like who you appear to be in this space. I need you to be lighter.
It's crazy because in Kenya, like, it's people go with trends, right? So when it was trendy to be light skinned, like, there were like girls who like literally became light skinned, and now that it's like trendy to have melanin, like, there's now girls who are going back. It's crazy, yeah, you know. So it's like it's one of these things where it's like so many people, like, even within, like, again, within ourselves, we still don't know what we need to do or who we need to be, and rather than just being, you know, and accepting.
But that's why we have to talk about it. We have to crack the code. It's like an onion. You have to continue to peel the layers and do the work. And then I'm blessed to be in the space where I'm able to do the work through beauty, to really show through visuals and through like all these things. Like, no, you are so beautiful as you are, and of course there's always room to improve because we are human, right? If you have hyperpigmentation, if you have these acne scars that you want to work on, here's some things that you can do. But I'm not saying change who you are or what you look like to be able to be your best self. Your best self is not lighter self. Your best self is like, you know, just treating whatever you're working with.
Completely.
So yeah, I'm doing the heavy lifting. It's a lot of work.
You are. And speaking of heavy lifting, tell the fam about your new adventure, which is by Amikole.
Amikole.
You know?
I love how you say it so perfectly.
Right? I had to master it.
Yes. So Amikole basically, I keep saying basically, is a clean makeup line for women of color. There are a few things that we are tackling. Like, we have made a lot of progress in the beauty industry and in general, in terms of new offerings. So you have your Fenties and you have your Pat McGraths and like Juvia's Place, Ioma Beauty just launched, but a lot of that again is not really representing what I want to represent, which means like, you are beautiful as is. These are the products that help enhance your beauty, but not transform your beauty. So there's that part in terms of just clean beauty to just enhance your natural beauty, and then also there are so many products on the market that are considered very toxic for women of color.
Interesting. Let's talk about that, because we never know. We don't know that, and this is why you see, you know, we saw the motions in hair care where there are more people going natural because they realize, like, not only is this permanent not good for my hair, it's literally not good for my body. The toxins that I'm absorbing in my body is not good. So 1 in 12 beauty products for women of color are considered toxic. Whoa. That's a lot.
And imagine, like, and some people, like, I've told that to some people, like, that's not a lot. I'm like, do you know how many products we use? Like, let's think about it. 1 in 12,
like,
according to environmental studies. So, and again, these studies are, number one, just happening. People are just like, wait a minute, that pink lotion not good for you? I've been using that since I was 6. Wait, what's going on? Okay, what's going on?
Exactly.
And we're realizing that, number one, there were like no scientific studies on us because I guess people at the top thought we were not, like,
we're not
racism
human.
is everywhere. You know what I mean? Like, even scientific studies, all these other things, like, rape representation is really important. And now we're starting to have these studies to show, number one, the shit that we're using is not good, not that good for us. So there's a lot of room for that, because you can go to, like, you know, Credo, which is a very clean brand, or you can go to Beauty Counter, which is all brand. They show you all the ingredients that you shouldn't be using. We don't have that space for women of color.
We don't.
I'm not saying it has to be perfect and all natural and DIY, but let's make it safe enough for us to be like, be. You know what I mean? To literally be. I just want to look like myself and not kill myself in the meantime trying to be beautiful. Right? So I'm doing that with Amikole. I'm doing that from a very top level, and then, of course, it's heavily inspired by my culture, where I grew up. I think the salon, especially growing up in that space and seeing, again, all these people from, like, Brooklyn, Boston, you name it, type of black women coming in there and transforming with their hair by these women straight from Senegal. There was always this type of cultural exchange that happened in this space. And I'm like, oh my, what if I'm able to kind of embody that in a brand? You know, showing how we are all still connected, showing how we are all still beautiful as we are. Like, on my way to Beyonce and Rihanna, can I just be myself?
Be.
Yes, be. So Amikole is going to be that, just that. Offering clean, non-toxic beauty products for women of color, starting off with cosmetics and eventually, you know, graduating into new spaces, which I'm so excited about, even thinking about men later on. So I'm really, really, really excited about that. And I'm using, like, all my energy into this brand.
I am entrepreneur
full on
mode.
breathing it. I've been doing this now for 7 months.
Yes.
And, like, it's launching next year. Okay.
Yes.
Inshallah.
Yes.
Summer, spring next year, and like it's been a journey, and I'm just so excited. It's like everything has led up to this moment. You know, I've learned everything that I could. I soaked in everything that I could to understand where those holes are, and I think I'd be the right person to get this job done. So that's what I'm doing.
And how big is the team? Is it just you and like?
So I right now is just me
working with others. Okay.
So I've kind of transformed my apartment into like my you know, freaking
office,
everything.
Gym,
all my samples coming in there. But I do have two all-star interns and apprentices, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
One working on social media, who's really helping me kind of flesh out what it means.
It's bomb, by the way. Everybody's about to follow it. The whole Afrolit fam is going to follow.
Yes. So we're trying to really think about how we're tackling, you know, the journey too. But if you go on there, it's super transparent, like in terms of helping us choose the packaging, helping us choose what kind of formula do you want. So like every single month, there's a new thing to tackle, and I really want the community to be involved, because I think that's just the beauty. Like we're building it together, hands on deck, which I think is not really common, especially for women of color brands. Like Fenty just happened, you just buy it. You know, it's just happened, you just
and
buy
I think
it,
we're learning more and more about Fenty not being fully Rihanna's thing. I feel like when we first, you know, you sip in the tea.
51%.
Right.
51%, and she's making this company billions of dollars.
Right.
And again, I do not want to knock Rihanna for this.
Yeah, it's not.
Because we need to take steps. Remember what you were saying earlier, like when do you kind of bring in what you can at a workplace? This is an example of that at a very different macro level, right? Here I am, an influencer of all influences, Rihanna.
I know.
And I need the resources and the bandwidth to be able to execute this miraculously, which they did at a global scale. So she was able to do that, and we need that, right? And you need the Pat McGraths to show that there's able, but then you also need the brands that are able to be black from front to back. And not saying that it must be, of course it can be other people there, but just showing that there are different levels of things, right?
There are.
And she is like, you know, quote unquote, the H&M, the Zara of beauty. And then we want to bring it in and bring it more home, like homemade, you know, made with love. Not saying that I'm cooking this up in my kitchen, because I'm definitely not. I'm working with manufacturers. I'm working with people. Definitely. It's literally a factory. I don't even touch the products. Right. So I think we need representation everywhere at every level. So I don't want to knock it.
Yeah.
She does have her percentage cut of it, and she definitely is hands-on, because I know the people that she work with, and like she's there. She's in the studio with them. So
that's
I'm not
beautiful.
knocking it.
Yeah, no, I mean, I would never. I'm not trying to have, what is it, Navy?
Oh, Navy.
Come after, Come
Navy.
after Afrolit. Oh, no. I just, you know, of course, I think Twitter is sometimes like,
Twitter
can be a crazy place, because they just get one whiff, like just like a little whisper of thing, and it's like,
one data point, and they're like literally
it's
shaking the table.
Right. And now with like the power, I mean, look at the power of like, you know, the chicken sandwich, you know, just like,
Popeyes.
But like the idea that like we hold that much, like it made news, you know, it became like a phenomenon, you know?
We have huge purchasing power. We spend $1.2 trillion in this U.S. market, and we like outspend by 22% compared to any other race in America.
Look at that.
We shift culture. We know that.
Do.
But now we have actual numbers to show that we shift culture. So that doesn't surprise me. Whatever we deem cool, whether it be, like I know for a very long time, you know, people were wearing the Air Forces, the white Air Forces, and now you see Becky always wearing Air Forces with her, you know, dress down T-shirt and jeans, which is cute, but you know where this started.
Right.
And I think once we realize that and we harness it, not in the I'm angry, you owe me way, but in a way it's like, you know what? I got you. You want to shift culture, huh? Let me show you how you shift culture. And I think Rihanna does a good job.
Worth to it.
Yes.
You know, this is the worth and tax on it.
And I think Rihanna does a good job doing that, because she'll get in there and she's like, no, I need 50 shades. No, I need plus, you know, going up to 3+, Savage Beauty, all these things where she's able to get in the door and then show people how we purchase. It's all through the data point. You want to sell out. You want to sell out, and you want to show that I have the power from a storytelling perspective, a connection perspective, and then a commodity. Because at the end of the day, they want money, and we shift it. So I think that's our goal, to, again, connecting through Afrolit, through other cultures and communities, to understand how can I make you better, how can we make each other better, because that's what they, quote unquote, do. They get in a room, and they say, oh, you know how to draw? I know how to build. What are we about to do? and they build it
make
together.
This building.
And you won't even know. You won't even know. All these little founders, these quote unquote new founders, what's it called? Sophia Amorosos of the world, and like Girl Boss, all these different things. They're all connected. They have dinner on Sundays and they talk about it. Even when they're in the same lane, they have dinners together and they feel like, you know what, you tackle this, I tackle this, and we come together because when we go to because white women do this. When we go to these investors, we know that the dollars are going to white men. How do we get more dollars together? And they literally brainstorm together and they go in and they attack from different angles, and they're raising $3 million in seed money with no proof of concept because they got together and they thought about it. I want us to do that. I want us to sit down and say, you know what? How are we going to tackle this? And how are we going to be strategic about it? And like, luckily, I've been so blessed to be able to surround myself with people that are raising or, starting companies themselves, because the VC world and raising money is a whole different game in itself.
Have you gotten to that stage yet?
So that's going to be happening top of year, which I'm super nervous about, but very excited about, because like 2% go to women, number one, and of that percent, what, 0.01% goes to women of color? They're like 12 or maybe 13 women who raise over $1 million, and that's like a drop in the bucket for how much VC money is really out there. So that is a lot to break down. It's very emotionally taxing to be breaking down like, generational things that
and then also doing this practically on your own, like having a lot of, and then again having like such huge fish in that. But again, I love what you've said, because I think at the end of the day, it is beautiful to understand that we can all win.
It's money out there.
There is money and space for us all.
Like, you count to 1.2 trillion. You sit there and count that. How many dollars is that, sis? Come on. Right. How many nations can we really feed and go back? And our dollars reach back when you go back home and you want to spread it. Come on, let's be real. Let's just be real. So I'm very grateful for some of the funds that are happening now. Like Richelieu, he just created the fund for, I think, New Voices Fund.
Yes.
So there's some traction there. It's a good time to be an entrepreneur.
It really is.
It's just a matter of mind gain, staying healthy in the mind and body and spirit, and not being like jaded, because it's tough. Like these meetings I'm taking like 150 meetings over like 3 weeks, 2 weeks, and like you have to be in and out. You have to know what you want, and it's a game that you have to be able to also reach back and tell your sister about.
Yeah.
Because even if you are there and you raise your money and you're by yourself, you are the test dummy. If you fail for everyone.
That is a
And they're like, you know what? No, Pat and Tracy Ellis Roska, it didn't work. So we're not giving you any money. Your people don't buy. And for the longest, they kept saying your people don't buy. That's why we don't have any shades.
Wow.
I would be in these L'Oreal meetings, and they're like, oh, we had shade 12, but no one, it didn't sell at Walmart. Move. I'm like, you didn't have the marketing budget behind it. You didn't talk to us. You just put it there and expected us to lollygag in Walmart. Did you put it in Target? Because we would have been there. In Target, they peep game real quick, because them owls are packed with
They're
beauty
like,
products.
Y'all, I'll shop? Oh, okay.
Welcome. This is
we're going to be at Afropunk. We're going to be at Coachella. We're going to be at every festival saying that buy black, because we're black.
I'm telling you.
So
but it's just a matter of, it's all strategy, and it's a matter of putting egos aside. And I'm not saying I'm perfect in any way, but I do say that I work well as community, versus it being like, this is my idea, this is what we're going to do. And we have to do that if you want to just advance.
Right. Ooh. Wow, that is powerful. That is powerful. I just want to know how you stay sane, because with everything that we've discussed, from, again, loving and building, how building the community, loving on your friends. I think as women sometimes, and nurturing is just our habit, right?
Yeah,
like right. It's just how we've been raised. It's what we're accustomed to. But sometimes I feel like family and all of these like agenda that's kind of just placed on you and you're not told about can become draining. And then on top of that, if you're running your own business and just trying to have a social life, maybe sneak in a date, maybe go out with your friends, maybe go I know, but maybe just live and like enjoy this youthfulness, so how do you balance work and life? Does that even exist in your reality?
Balance is a tricky word. Balance is a tricky word, because like what in life does balance? I think it's all pendulums. It's like where the energy goes, it goes. Where the energy ebbs, it just ebbs and flows. I have some days that are tough, like crippling tough, because especially around the period, time of the month, You know what I mean? Seriously.
Right.
There are some days that can feel extremely lonely, and you feel like no one understands you, or worse, people have a perception of you that they don't know. Even if it's a good perception or a bad perception, they have no idea who you are. You just have a social media account and people think that they know you, or all these other things that can be emotionally taxing, especially when you don't have someone as close to like your family member. You can call your dad like, Dad, I just, looked at this investment portfolio. What do you think? They don't know. You're like, listen, I bought you here. You figure it. That's your job.
Right. Take it to the next level.
There's some days that are really tough, and it takes a lot of crying, and it takes a lot of like, nope, I'm going to Senegal. Okay, nope, I'm stopping. I'm going to go talk to my friends. I'm going to go FaceTime my friends.
Yes.
I quite honestly cannot afford this trip, but I'm going because I honestly need to see a body of water.
You do.
So,
and warmth. December in Africa.
I need it. I need it. So balance is very hard, and I'm not saying that I have it balanced, because there's some days, again, like, and there's some days that I like wake up at like 10:30 and I feel horrible. I'm like, if I was Steve Jobs, I would have been up at 8 o'clock. I need to be 8 o'clock successful. But I'm going to sleep at like 3 o'clock. You know what I mean? I'm going to sleep at 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm like journaling, because I work well at night.
Same.
I'm journaling at night and all these things. And I have to literally pause like, Jada, do you know what you just did? So on top of my to-do list, I do the things I already accomplished. So when I feel bad and I feel like I haven't made any traction, I look at it. I'm like, wait a minute. I've been able to like trademark this, get my thing. I got a lawyer. I got all these things in my supply chains
today.
You know what I mean?
One day.
You know what I mean? So I have to think that way.
Yeah.
And also I tell myself, what I tell myself is like, if I can be able to accomplish one thing towards my dream, I'm okay. I'm okay. And if some days it's as big as closing down a deal on the supply chain or a vendor, and some days it's as small as sending off that email that you have been dreading for days. It's the small tasks that we have to celebrate in. So I try to be very mindful of the way I talk to myself, the way I treat myself. I'm not good with working out. I need to work on that. I need to get more active, because I'm just so like crunched over and blah, blah, blah running. And my running is like running to the L train.
Right.
So I'm trying to get better at it, honestly.
Yeah, that's so good.
But I just try to be as nice to myself.
Have that balance, like that's crazy.
Yeah, it's
and
crazy.
You're good, but I feel like I keep saying, I think you are such a great example to our community of like the nuances, So
nuanced.
And so with everything that you've gone through, I always like to close off with this.
Yes.
What would you tell 10-year-old Jada, having looked back on everything from the lived experiences to who you are now to where you're going with Bye Amikole?
Yes.
What would you tell her?
I would tell her to keep doing you.
And be.
And be. And I say that because growing up, I had a very difficult time in school. I was not an A+ student. I was like a solid B, C+ student. I was not an excellent student, but I was very creative. I always knew how to tell a story. I always knew how to engage with people that were way like more emotionally intelligent, And I would never did well on tests, and I always felt so bad about it. I'm like, oh my God, like, I'm just never gonna succeed in life because I'm not good at XYZ. But I was good in other ways, and I had to. I don't know where I'm going there, but I'm just saying, like, there's a reason why you are the way you are, and just lean into what your genius or version of genius is. How many billionaires, how many geniuses dropped out of school? How many geniuses have not been able to be what their parents wanted them to be? Luckily, my parents knew I tried my best. Like whatever I do though, I will try my best.
Right.
So I would tell that 10-year-old girl, like, this is what society wants you to be successful in. Try your best, but also do not silence that voice. You know what I mean? I was always a wild child, always very curious.
Yes.
Keep being curious.
Yes.
Keep trying to, unturn those stones. Keep trying to understand what makes you happy and lean into that, because that's where you're really successful. That's where you're really successful. So that's why I was telling my little young. Well, what grade is that? Second grade?
That's second, third. Yeah, I think third grade, right?
Because I was a wild child. I was out there.
Really? No. And I love that you said that, you like, I feel like schools and all these institutions, you know, again, it's one track thinking. It's a one lane. You know,
I was such a visual learner too, and no, my teachers didn't have time to show me.
Yeah.
I'm like, I need to see 4 different things. I don't need you to tell me this on paper. I need you to see it. And like, they don't cater to visual learners.
They don't.
You have to do a book smart.
They don't have time for that. They're just like, I don't even get paid enough to teach you 30 of y'all. Period. You know? So now you want a visual? Oh, okay. Thank you.
Not to mention, they threw my ass in like ESL as soon as I got there.
Oh, that's just, you were born here though.
I was in ESL until 3rd grade.
Stop.
I didn't even know that this wasn't. I was like, oh, this is a special class. Like, this is cool. You know what I mean? I got to like leave
just because they saw your name, right?
Yes. They put me in ESL, so I was even like further behind them. I had to do so much picking up and get like an extra. Luckily, my dad got me an extra tutor. All these things, but like, institutions will get you.
Institutions, and like you said, representation has to happen everywhere in all sectors.
Yeah.
Jada, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
This was amazing.
I'm so happy. I'm so excited. And keep doing you. Keep inspiring. Keep connecting. Like, it's so important to be a connector and to be able to share the similarities and the differences in our beautiful cultures around the continent, not just, you know, certain places. So I commend you for that. I commend you for your consistency.
Thank you.
And like, I am such a huge fan. So I'm just excited to continue to.
Afrolit fam.
Yeah, I'm excited to continue to keep growing, and it's just necessary.
Exactly.
It's necessary.
That's all, like you've said, that's all I want to do. I want to be the connection. Like, you know, when you used to play that game, when it's like, you connect the dots, and then it becomes like, all right.
Love it.
You see the bigger picture.
I
I've learned so much from listening to you. I hope the fam watching this learn more too and see more.
Yes.
And they can stay tuned for more. You can find
Absolutely.
Afrolit where all podcasts are available. We on Spotify too.
Whoa. You know, Jay-Z just got on Spotify again today.
Oh, really?
Yeah, today's his 50th birthday. Sagittarius.
I did not know that.
Yeah,
anyway,
Spotify
so now you
family.
can listen to this episode and then now go listen to some Jay-Z.
There you go.
Right? We all
Black
lit,
albums, classic.
right? But I have been your host, Equa.pm, and you can find Jada on all the show notes. Jada.
It's
Jada.
okay,
Wow.
it's
I said it right the whole episode. Now I'm going to ruin it at the end.
I know, it's okay. I understand.
And let me not be like these corporations. It's like, in school, I used to hate that. It's like, do we have
Attendance?
Ekia?
Oh, God.
Masambu? Like, where's the U?
Yeah.
There's the A. Oh, I hated it.
Mine is Mam Jada, so is Mom A here? I'm like, oh. Damn it.
On that note, thank you so much for listening, and stay tuned for so much more. I have been your host, Equip.pm.
Yes.
Hear from me soon. Bye.
Bye-bye.